Morning students. Here we're given a CXC problem here, solving quadratic equations, but this time we're going to be using completing the square when the leading coefficient is 1. Now the leading coefficient is the number before the x squared. We don't see a number. Whenever we don't see a number, it is assumed to be 1. The coefficient before x is 12. There's no third coefficient here. Normally you would see a third number without any x's. This we call a constant, but it is missing here. Solve this, which means that you want the value for x. We could approach it two ways. I'm going to show you the first way, which doesn't always work. We could factorize this. We could take out the common, what is common to both terms, which is x, right, and 1, and allow both of them to be equal to 0. So we could approach it that way. So we could say we could remove the x from the expression, and x times x will give us x squared, so plus 12. So we have two things equal to 0. We have the x on the outside, which is equal to 0, and we have the x plus 12, which is equal to 0. So right away we know that one of the values for x is 0 already. So we could say then x is equal to 0, and that is where we stop. And we can also say x plus 12 is equal to 0. Of course, we would minus the 12 from both sides. Minus the 12. These two will cancel. So x will become minus 12. So we get, so in this sense, when we worked it worked out okay, because we got two values for x. We never had to complete the square for this one, but there are times when we have to complete the square to get the answer. But I'm going to show you how to complete the square anyway. So we're going to rewrite back the expression x squared plus 12x is equal to 0, because if the examiner asks you to use completing the squares, you have to use what they ask you to do. So I'm going to show you now how to do it. Now, what we want to do is create 3 terms. Right? We want to create 3 terms. We only have 2 terms here, which is equal to 0. We want to create 3 terms. So what we're going to have to do now is rewrite this in a way: x squared plus 12x plus another term which is equal to 0 plus another term. So the third term that we had here, we're going to have to add it over this side as well to balance the equation. Now what do we put in here? Now we have the coefficient of x. Pardon me. This is the 12 is a coefficient of x. Coefficient simply means a number, right? So the number before x is going to be halved. So it becomes 6, right? So after we half it, it becomes 6. And then we square the 6 and put the value here. What is when we square 6? When 6 multiplied by itself, we get 36 over here, right? We also have to add 36 over here to balance the equation. So our new expression now is this. Our new expression becomes, it's now a trinomial. It's a perfect square trinomial, which means that we can factorize it very easily. Equals 36, because 0 plus 36 is equal to 36. Now we can factorize this now to get an expression. And how do we factorize this? We factorize this by putting x in a bracket, and we add this 6 to the x. Whenever we half the coefficient, and it becomes 6. If this was a minus 6, if this was a minus 12, half of minus 12 will give us minus 6. I would have to put the minus 6 in this bracket as well. But because this is a positive 6, we just simply add the 6. And then we square everything. And that is going to equal to 36. Right? Our next step, remember, we want to solve for x now. So we have to get rid of this second power. How do we get rid of the second power? We have to square root everything. We find the root, the square root of everything. That means it's going to be x plus 6 squared. We also have to find the square root of this. But we're going to have to put plus or minus the square root of 36. So what we do to one side, we do to the next side, right? To keep the equation balanced. Now the reason why we find the square root of this expression is because we want to get rid of the second power. So the square root itself cancels out the second power. That is a rule. The square root cancels out the second power, so you're left with x plus 6. And this is going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of 36, which is what? 6. Remember that the square root of a number, is one of its two factors, equal factors. One of them becomes the square root, right? 36 has two equal factors of 6 times 6. One of them becomes the square root, right? One of those two equal factors becomes the square root, all right? So now we have x plus 6 is equal to plus or minus 6, right? We subtract 6 from both sides in order to get rid of this 6 and to allow the x to stand by itself. We subtract x from both sides. So this is going to be equal to minus 6 plus or minus 6. These two will cancel, leaving you with x. So x now will have two values. It will have a minus 6 plus 6, or it will have a minus 6 minus 6. All right, so we work with, so we add 6 to minus 6 with the top sign, and we subtract 6 using the bottom sign from negative 6. So negative 6 plus 6, that's going to equal to 0, because these two cancel out. All right, and now we're left with a minus 6 minus 6. So when we group together a minus 6 and another minus 6, we're going to get a minus 12. So these become the two solutions for x. See, it worked out to be the same like the one we did up here now. Right? It worked out to be the same because we know that x is equal to 0 here, and x plus 12 is equal to 0, and it eventually worked out to x equal minus 12. So it's the same. We got the same answers. What we use complete the squares. We use complete the square to get this solution. Right? Well, we meet again in the next class. All right.